Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So continue to read the chapter 18 of Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. After signing them, Swami would give one of the boys copy of Dr. Radha Krishnan's edition of Bhagavad Gita to read aloud from. He would correct their mispronunciations and then explain each verse. Because there were only a few people present, there was always ample time for everyone to discuss the philosophy. The class would sometimes run an hour and a half and cover 3 or 4 verses. Steve, Swamiji mentioned that mangoes were the king of all fruits, and he even mentioned that they were not easily available in this country. It occurred to me that I could bring him mangoes. There was a store on First Avenue that always kept a stock of fresh mangoes in the cooler. I began a regular habit. Every day after getting off work, I would purchase one nice mango and bring it to Swamiji. Valley. Some of the boys would say, I'm doing this for the Swami. So I went to him and said, is there something I can do for you? So he told me I could take notes in his class. The boys were sure that their service to Swamiji was spiritual devotional service. By serving the spiritual master, who was a representative of Krishna, you were serving Krishna directly. One morning, Prabhupada told Howard that he needed help in spreading the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. Howard wanted to help, so he offered to type the Swami's manuscripts of Srimad Bhagavatam. Howard, the first words of the first verse read, "O the king," and naturally I wondered whether O was the king's name or the king stood in opposition. After some time, I figured out that O king was intended instead. I did not make the correction without his permission. Yes, he said, change it then. I began to point out a few changes and inform him that if he wanted, I could make correction and that I had a master's in English and taught last year at Ohio State. Oh yes, Swamiji said, do it, put it nicely. He was giving them the idea of devotional service. A devotee may not be perfect at first, he said, but if he is engaged in service, once the service has begun, he can be purified. Service is always there in the material world or the spiritual, but the service in the material world could not bring satisfaction to the self. Only bhakti, pure service, service rendered to Krishna could do that. And the best way to serve Krishna was to serve the representative of Krishna. They picked it up quickly. It was something that you could do easily. It was not difficult like meditation. It was the activity. You did something, but you did it for Krishna. They had seen Swamiji responded to Bovary Bum, who had come with a gift of toilet paper. Just see, Swamiji had said, he is not in order, old, he is not in order, but he thought, let me give some service. But service had to be done voluntarily out of love, not by force. Valley, Swamiji once asked me, do you think you could wear a Vaishnava tilaka when you are on the street? I said, well, I would feel funny doing it, but if you want me to, I will. And Swami said, no, I don't ask you to do anything you don't want to do. Steve, one day when I brought my daily mango to him, he was in his room surrounded by devotees. I gave him my mango and sat down, and he said, very good boy. The way he said it, as if I were just a tiny little boy, made everyone in the room laugh, and I felt foolish. Swami, however, then changed their mood by saying, no, this is actually love. This is Krishna consciousness. And then they did not laugh. When Howard first volunteered to do editing, he spent the whole morning walking in Swamiji's room. If there is any more typing, Howard said, let me know. I could take it back to Mott Street and type there. More? There's lot more, Swamiji said. He opened the closet and pulled out 2 large bundles of manuscripts tied in saffron cloth. There were thousands of pages, single-spaced manuscripts of Prabhupada translations of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Howard stood before them, astonished. It's a lifetime of typing, he said, and Prabhupada smiled and said, oh yes, many lifetimes. Because of Prabhupada's presence and the words that he spoke there and the kirtanas, everyone was already referring to the storefront as the temple. But still, it was just bare, squalid storefront. The inspiration to decorate the place came from Mott Street boys. Howard, Keith, Valley had devised a scheme to surprise the Swami when he asked when he came to the evening Kirtana. Raleigh removed the curtains from their apartment, took them to Landromat, where they turned the water dark brown from filth, and then dyed them purple. The Mart Street apartment was decorated with posters, paintings, and large decorative silk hangings that Howard and Keith had brought back from India. The boys gathered up all their pictures, tapestries, incense burners, and other paraphernalia and took them, along with the purple curtains, to the storefront where they began their day of decorating. At the storefront, the boys constructed a wooden platform for Prabhupada to sit on and covered it with old velvet cloth. Behind the platform, on the real wall between the two windows to the courtyard, they hung the purple curtains flanked by a pair of orange ones. Against one orange panel just above Swamiji's sitting place, they hung a large original painting of Radha and Krishna on a circular canvas that James Green had done. Prabhupada had commissioned James, giving him the dust jacket from his Srimad Bhagavatam. With its crude Indian drawing as a model, the figures of Radha and Krishna were somewhat abstract. At the Lower East Side, critics who frequented the storefront hailed the work as wonderful achievement. Keith and Howard were less confident that Prabhupada would approve their paintings and prints from India, so they hung them near the street side of the temple, away from Swamiji's seat. One of these prints, well known in India, was of Hanuman carrying a mountain through the sky to Lord Ramachandra. The boys had no idea what kind of being Hanuman was. They thought perhaps he was a cat because the shape of his upper lip. Then there was a picture of male person with six arms, two arms painted greenish held a bow and arrow, another pair bluish held a flute, and the third pair golden and held a stick and bowl. By late afternoon, they had covered the sitting platform, hung the curtains, tagged the tacked up the decorative silks and prints, and hung the paintings, and were decorating the dais with flowers and candlesticks. Someone brought a pillow for Swami to sit on, and a faded cushion from an overstuffed chair was a backrest. In addition to the Mart Street cachet, Robert Nelson took one of his grandfather's Belgian style Oriental rug from his garage in the suburbs and brought it by subway to 26th 2nd Avenue. Even Raphael and Don took part in the decorating. The secret was well kept. The boys waited to see Swamiji's response. That night, when he walked in to begin the Kirtana, he looked at the newly decorated temple. There was evening incense burning, and he raised his eyebrows in satisfaction. You are advancing, he said as he looked around the room, smiling broadly. Yes, he added, this is Krishna consciousness. Sudden happy mood seemed almost like their reward for their earnest labors. He then stepped up onto the platform while the boys held their breath, hoping it would be sturdy, and he sat, looking out at the devotees and decoration. I think we should stop here. Yeah, as you see, like, all these new people, who don't know about Krishna or service, trying to help Srila Prabhupada whichever way possible by him, by them. And Prabhupada welcomed their service, and slowly they are, showing more interest and having some taste, and, they were decorating the residence uh, with whatever things they find. And I think Prabhupada liked their service and, the decoration. And now we also know how the Vyasasanas we are using, right? Pretty much in a similar way. But I think that's what started, day then when these devotees or future devotees helped to come up with these ideas. So if you see that, I think everybody is going above and beyond, and their pure love is being shown. I think if with all the options we have, sometimes I feel like we are doing less service than what these devotees were doing 50 years ago or 60 years ago.